Hi guys, in today's episode we're going to be learning all about shapes. Now shapes are probably the most important thing that you'll use in PowerPoint, which is the reason I've started with this area first. Okay, so you want to imagine that your slide is like a piece of paper. Now what we can do is we can draw shapes on the paper. We can even stick shapes on the paper. We can then edit those shapes, so we can change how those shapes look. We can color them in, we can change their colors, and if we want to, we can also move those shapes around the paper. So imagine that paper is your slide on PowerPoint. We can do all of those things to it. Okay, so join me and let's dive in and learn all about shapes. Right, so let's dive right in with shapes. So, like I said, shapes is one of the most important parts of PowerPoint, and this is where all your design is pretty much going to come from. So, if I click shapes, you can find this under your Home tab, and we've got this area called shapes. You can see it's given me lots of different shapes. All of these PowerPoint has made for me. If I simply click on it, I can drag it onto my slide, and I can have a shape directly like this. Now, if you saw while I was dragging this shape, it didn't make a perfect circle. Now I can easily stop this but just by holding Shift on my keyboard. And now you can see it drags a perfect circle every single time. All right. Now, this is the basics of putting shapes onto our slide. We can move them around as well. We can also put them on top of each other, or we can put them behind each other. If I right click, I can send it to back. So now it's behind the other shape. Okay. Now, if I click one shape, if you look at the top of the screen on the left where it says merge shapes, it's grayed and I cannot click this. But if I click Control on my keyboard and select the second shape, you notice now that it has become active, and I can do a few tricks with this. So you can see two of my shapes are selected, but if I click Union, now I don't have two shapes anymore. I have one shape. If I click Fragment, it has split my shapes into pieces. So now I have three pieces, and I can move those pieces anywhere I want to. For example, like this. Okay. And last one is Subtract, where you can take the shape away from the other shape. So I've just created a moon here. So these are the really basics of how to create your own shapes. There are other ways we can do it too. If I click on one shape and right click, you can see we have the edit points function. So what that will do is that will put some vertex points around the shape. I can simply click on it and I can create my own shapes. Now this method is quite time consuming. It will take you a lot of time, and this one might be a bit more difficult. But there is, lucky for you, one other magic tool, which is perfect for creating more detailed shapes with a lot more efficiency. So this is the curved line. So if I click on shapes and I select the curved line, what that's going to do is if I click once, it will drag a line for me, but it's a straight line. If I click a second time, you can see it's now created a curve. If I keep clicking at different points, I can create my own shape quite easily. Okay, so this way is a lot more efficient than the way before. So it doesn't look like much, Alex. We just created a simple shape. We learned how to edit points of a shape, and we learned how to create our own shape. But that doesn't really look like much. I'm a bit bored right now. So let's put this into practice. So to help me, I'm going to take a picture from Google Images. Simply choose a picture you like, click on it, and drag it into our slide. I'm going to use this one to help me. So let's try make this tree with basic shapes. So I'm going to choose a rectangle. I'm going to draw out my rectangle to create the trunk. I'm going to copy and paste this rectangle a few more times just to get a rough idea of the trunk. We can rotate this as well. And I'm just going to drag it into place, copy and paste that one. So you can see with these basic shapes, I'm now starting to create a very rough outline of this tree, and so on. I'm going to finish up here. Okay, so earlier I told you if we select all of these shapes and then go to merge shapes, I can join them together to create one shape. So this is my shape that I've just created. I've created the trunk and a few branches of this tree, but it doesn't look very realistic to me. So let's try the curved line tool that I was talking to you about. Now let's try and draw this tree trunk and its branches, and let's see what the result will look like. So I'm simply taking it and following different points along the tree, and we should get something which looks nice and smooth up here. And it was a lot easier for me to use, and it took me the same amount of time as the previous one. So if we put these side by side, you can now see there is a huge difference between how these trunks look. So the one on the right looks a lot more realistic than the one on the left. Now there are ways or there are situations where you will probably use this one, and there are also situations you will probably use this one. So it really depends on you. So now we've learned how to create shapes. We've learned how to combine or join shapes together. We've also looked at how to make our own custom shapes. So the next thing we're going to look at is coloring. How are we going to put color onto this shape? Well, at the top, we have some things up here. One of these boxes is called Shape Fill. If I just click on this arrow, we have lots of different colors here. If I click on More Fill Colors, we have more detailed colors. I can get a wider range of colors from this tab over here. But one of the functions I really like is the eyedropper color. So let's say there is a picture in this tree, color in this tree that I really like, sorry. So for example, this brown, the eyedropper will simply go over the color. I click, and they will choose that color for my shape. So I've got the brown over here. I can do the same for the line. I want the line to be black. I don't like the line so thin on around this trunk, so I'm going to make the line a bit thicker, like so. And yeah, that looks a lot better. All right, but it's just one boring plain brown color. So what I can do is if I right click on this and I go to Format Shape, now we can start to make this look a bit more realistic. So solid fill means only one color. If I click gradient fill, I can have more than one color on my picture. So you can see I've got white or very light blue, okay, and a blue color. So let me change this to a brown, and I'm going to change this one to, let's say, a black. Okay, so now you can see we're kind of getting a little 3D effect, except it's not going the right way. So if we change this by going to direction, I can change this. So you can see the dark black colors on the right hand side here, and the brown is on the left hand side. So this is the one I want. Now this is perfect. I'm going to make this brown a bit lighter, just so it's easier for you to see the effect of this gradient. So you can see on the left we've got the light brown, on the right we have the dark brown. I can move this around to reflect how much dark I want in my on my shape. So this is the basics of creating colors. This is the basics of making shapes. And one more thing I forgot to show you is what else you can do with this curved line tool. So on the tree, we have a few details like this line over here. So I'm going to draw out this line, except I don't want to finish the shape. I only want the line. So at this point, I just click enter on my keyboard and it has finished that line for me. So now I'm going to move that line across to my picture. So great, this has created some detail for me. Whoops. So let's move it into place. And I can continue doing the same for the other details as well. So let me try and copy this one. Perfect. So I'm going to drag that line over here. Okay, this is nice. And I can do the same for the other two. And if I want to join all of these together, I can just click my mouse and hover over all of those shapes. If I click Control G, it has now grouped them into one group. And this is easy for me to move this around. If I didn't group this, you can see that if I just click the tree, it will be difficult for me to move. Or I wouldn't be able to move everything in one go. All right, guys, so to conclude, we learned how to put shapes onto the slide. We learned how to edit shapes. We learned how to create our own shapes with the curved line tool. And we've learned how to put different colors onto our shapes. So I hope you found this useful and look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.